Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is both amazing and difficult at the same time. The Passport Mommy, Michelle Jerson, is here to share in your journey.
It's amazing. It really is, just watching them grow and see how much change and how much they learn just without the filters around them.
Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Spring is coming, which means it is the time of year that a lot of people are putting their homes on the market. And if you are in the market for a new house, if you're looking to purchase, whether you're a first-time buyer or maybe you've bought before and you're just looking to move, now's the time to get going with it, because I have found personally that when you try to look over the fall and the winter, it's good. There's some inventory there, but the inventory is really strong this time of year. And a lot of people want to buy, but they're not really sure how to do it, especially first-time buyers. It could be a little intimidating, especially if you feel you don't have enough for a down payment. So with me today, I have AJ Barkley. She is the Neighborhood Lending Executive for Bank of America. She's responsible for identifying opportunities to drive successful home ownership among low to moderate income borrowers and underserved communities and multicultural borrowers across the economic spectrum. But really, AJ, thank you for joining me today. You're here to just give advice about how to go ahead and purchase that first home.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think you well said in terms of the time of the year it is. It is absolutely right around the corner from heavy purchasing, heavy selling of homes. And what we do know is 88% of the homeowners have said they're so glad they did it. Like, this was like the best thing they could have done, which was to purchase a home. And that's as a result of some feedback we got through our Home Buyers Insights report. But to your point around preparation or what people need to know, at the same time where there's excitement about purchasing homes, home buyers, about 95% that are thinking about purchasing a home, first-time home buyers, they just really don't know where to start. And 95% said they're overwhelmed, they're not sure. And so we've done several things at Bank of America that I think are extremely important. But even if you're, thinking about people that you work with already and people that you trust, and you're trying to start this relationship to understand for yourself personally what you need to do, we have 2 or 3 main resources that I think have been very, very helpful. So we want to set buyers on the right direction. We have a lot of resources and programs, including what is phenomenal, a recently launched first-time homebuyer on-demand video series. It's got 6 different elements, 6 different episodes on this on-demand series, and it's hosted by BuzzFeed's Hannah Williams, and it covers every key aspect of home buying, and it teaches home buyers around smart strategies to shift attitudes, like how do I do this and what should I do. And so what I say to people when they're really starting to think about home ownership is find a trusted resource that you can start to understand what you actually qualify for. I think that's really important. And you need to start thinking about that early on in the process. And then you speak to a specialist that can actually help you, or you leverage resources to understand, those things that you think are urban myths that you think you would actually remove you from the opportunity of buying a home.
Right. So I have a question. So if there can be opportunities for first-time home buyers, such as working with them on down payment, or maybe there's a credit for closing costs, which I'd love to hear more about. If you're married and you have bought a home before, but your partner has not, can you still qualify? Or as a partnership, it does not mean that you are first-time home buyers? Yeah.
So first-time home buyers really is you purchased your first home. The programs that we have and many programs that exist don't necessarily eliminate you from getting a home if you're not a first-time home buyer. So it doesn't matter, to your point. It could be, a co-borrower, someone trying to do the home together or separately. At Bank of America, that would not eliminate you from being seen as a first-time home buyer. The resources you use for someone that hasn't purchased a home before would still be valuable. And quite frankly, even if you purchased a home before, it might have been 10 to 15 years ago and you get your next home, you might need to dust off, your memory bank, right, of what it looks like today in terms of purchasing a home. But to your point around barriers to home ownership, there's really 2. I think you were like, what should people think about? And it's closing costs and down payment. That's what I think people struggle with the most. They're trying to figure out, well, a first-time home buyer, how do I get prepared for being able to understand the dynamics around that? And I'm sure you remember that we launched the Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment in second quarter last year that was really focused on addressing those 2 barriers of home ownership. closing costs up to $7,500, and then down payment 3% up to $10,000 for eligible clients. And we found that when we actually spoke with clients about that potential opportunity, that actually relieved some level of stress for them. And then we started talking about qualifications and what do they need to do around their current debt and how they should start thinking about evaluating, what they're paying and how they're spending their money, each and every day. And in terms of, what can they eliminate, et cetera.
Exactly. So if somebody does have debt, let's say somebody has debt from a business that they started, would that affect how much they qualify for when it comes to a mortgage?
Well, I guess it depends. I really am cautious of making blanket statements, without the person's personal situation. But I think this is a great opportunity if you're a small business owner. If you have had a home before and you're working on your second home or whatever the situation is, the best way to understand the dynamics for your personal situation is to leverage a lending specialist or someone in someone that you trust in terms of the financial institution that you may do your banking at. That is not an automatic elimination, that you have a small business. We have a lot of our small business owners, by the way, that also they are consumer clients of ours. And, that relationship and the fact that we have a broader relationship with the client, we actually obviously look at that in terms of understanding the end-to-end priorities for that client and what we can actually provide to them in terms of solutions. But that would not eliminate you. Absolutely not.
Okay, great. So what are the steps? What should people do? They found a home or maybe they're looking actively. What are the steps that they need to take right now? What should they have in place?
Well, first of all, they should make sure that they have got a pre-approval, which actually positions them better in the marketplace versus someone that has not gone through a pre-approval, which is an initial feedback that you are actually qualified both with income and your debt to literally purchase a home. I think that's important.
Right.
The second thing that they need to do is, and when they do the pre-approval process, they would have already gone and spoken with the lending specialist, and they would have actually advised them of whether or not they're approved. And it'll be an official, a letter that they can take to the realtors. I also think what's important when you're doing this the first time is don't create new debt while you're in the process of thinking about purchasing a home, right? That new car, spring, people may want a new car, they want a new house. Really think about what additional debt I might want to incur. And then make sure that all of the information related to how you're paying your bills and all of those things, that you really, really have those things documented. A lot of times people may not have all of the ways and the means in which they have jobs and part-time jobs or full-time jobs documented, so we don't know this information. So it's just really preparation for not creating debt, understanding your capability to buy, and then making sure that you have a trusted resources to walk you through the process.
Right, exactly. So do you have any insight? I know people are always talking. They're always saying, now's a great time to buy. Oh, now's not a good time to buy. Real estate's still going to going to go down. Is there any way to really predict it, or do you just recommend buying whenever somebody is ready?
I think you buy when you're ready. And with the various mortgage solutions, there's low down payment. There's different types of mortgage programs. And so you should buy when you're ready to buy. And some people say, well, spring is important because a lot of times people make decisions this time of the year because they want to make sure their kids they're not moving in the middle of school, the school year, and they want to kind of get their family stabilized. But there's never a bad time to purchase a home. I think you just have to make sure it fits in with your life priorities. And, it gets more competitive, right, in the spring and summer because lots of people are trying to purchase homes at that time. So there's really no timeline in terms of what's better or worse in purchasing a home. Okay.
And when you mentioned that you can purchase a home for a low down payment without, would you have those PMI points if you did take advantage of that? Or are there other opportunities for that first-time home buyer that would not incur those points?
That's a great question. So the Community Home Ownership Program that we launched, which is $5 billion, 20,000 new homeowners over the next 5 years, part of what we did is we have low down payment mortgage programs, one that does have a PI and one that doesn't have a PI, or MI, mortgage insurance, one with mortgage insurance, one without mortgage insurance. And so it just depends on what the client wants to do, but the down payment grant is eligible on a few of our product sets. And so we would obviously want to discuss it with the client to see what best meets their needs. But it's actually, and it's you have to be eligible to do it, but it's actually a great way to get into a home. And so the way I think about it, Michelle, is like if you actually had the capability of having funds available for closing costs and to buy down your rate, and you had a down payment assistance, those funds that you might have been using or really struggling to get, those then become funds that you could use to continue to save, right? Because home ownership is around sustained home ownership. And so this program or this closing cost down payment, obviously to get people in homes, but it also puts people in a position to start thinking about saving differently, because purchasing a home and being a homeowner helps you begin to build wealth. So we don't think about it just as we're going to get you in your home. It's really around what's the longer-term impacts to your family and your household to have the capability to save some of the funds you might have been putting down or you were struggling to get.
Right. So tell everybody, where can they go for more information and to get started?
Outstanding. So to learn more about our resources and for prospective buyers, you can visit www.bankofamerica.com/homeowner.
Terrific. AJ Barkley, thank you so much for joining me today. She's a neighborhood lending executive for Bank of America. Very informative, and good luck if you are purchasing your first home. More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
So as a new mom, I think one of the biggest concerns is whether or not your child will have a food allergy. And even if they start growing up and you think they don't have any allergies, it doesn't mean that they may not develop one, or possibly somebody in their class where they go to school could have an allergy. And we always hear it's a nut-free zone, or some other allergy that they're really trying to be careful of, because it could be very serious if you are around children and say you send your child with nuts to school because your child might not be allergic, but somebody else is. So today we have with us Lisa Gable. She is the CEO of FAIR for Food Allergy Research and Education. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an important topic, and so glad to talk with the moms who are out there.
Tell me just how serious it is if somebody has a food allergy, or how serious it could be.
It's life-threatening, and I think that today, as we talk a lot about food sensitivities and maybe dietary selections that people are making, what we've diluted is an understanding that someone who has a life-threatening food allergy needs to, upon ingestion, take an epinephrine and auto-injector, push it into their leg, and then call 911. It's really something that it's a matter of minutes and someone can die, and so something to be taken very seriously.
Right. Now, the Centers for Disease Control reports that the prevalence of food allergies in children has increased by 50% between 1997 and 2011. What do you attribute to this?
Well, we had a couple of things going on in the 1998-1997 timeframe, which is why you're starting to see the very first children sort of graduating from college who started this epidemic. One is that we told mothers not to eat the allergen when they were pregnant and not to feed the allergen to their children at a young age. And that was actually the wrong information to give to people. We cannot guarantee that early introduction of a food will prevent someone from getting an allergy, but the goal is that it will prevent many and will also reduce the risk. And so we are telling people to introduce the food early and often to the children and eat it when you're pregnant. There are some different brands that have come onto the marketplace with whom we've partnered. There's Ready Set Food. There's a brand called Before Brands. Both of those are designed to help moms as they're trying to figure out how much food to give to their young child and what could be mixed with a child's food as they're beginning to introduce them to solids.
Right. I think that's such a smart idea. I know I mix peanut butter or almond butter with my 9-month-old's oatmeal every morning, and I did that with my daughter. And so far, knock on wood, so good. I just tried to expose them to as many foods as I could when they were early on. So who is most at risk for these allergies? Would you say it's young children?
We actually do not know. What we've seen is that since 98, you had the rise of food allergies. And so it's 5.6 million children, nearly 8%, 2 kids in every classroom. However, over the last few years, we have actually seen the number rise from what we call late onset, which is an adult who's been eating the food their entire life going into anaphylaxis. And so there's no sort of age criteria. Different children are exhibiting their allergic reactions at different ages. And it's very important to go onto our website, foodallergy.org, and make sure that you're aware of the signs of what might be what might be anaphylaxis.
Right, absolutely. So tell us about the FAIR campaign.
Sure, we have a program called the Contains Courage campaign. And the goal of this program was to say these kids aren't things to be fixed. They're assets to be gained. And they're not just the peanut boy, or they're not just that girl who can't have dairy. They're musicians, they're mathematicians, they're taekwondo experts, they're ballerinas. And so this campaign allows us to focus on the whole child and the strength of that child who actually lives daily with a life-threatening disease. They're the hero of the story. And what's fun is that we actually launched last year our first Contains Courage Summit. We had 1,000 people there, moms and kids of all ages and dads. And we're actually going to be having another one in Florida this coming October. So if you see it on our website, sign up. It's a great opportunity for your kids to meet other kids like themselves, to talk about what they do in their life, to basically embody that courage, to embody that resiliency and the power that they have. And for moms to be able to talk to other moms about, how are you handling this? Compare stories and hear experts help them figure out day-to-day ways to live their life as kids go into dating, as they go off to college, as their little kids going into preschool. It's always nice to have other people to talk with that have been there before you.
And I have a friend of mine who went through this as a child, and now he's in his 40s, and it still affects him, and he still has memories of all the code blues at the hospital, and he talks about it now, and he inspires other parents, which I think is wonderful. So where can people go for more information?
They go to foodallergy.org. That's where you can get all the information. And if you have a food allergy, or if you know someone who does, or actually if you just want to become educated because you're around children a lot and you want to know what it is that you need to do to mitigate risk, go to foodallergy.org. The site's just been redone with a wonderful search engine. It's very easy to find the information. And if your child has a food allergy, or if you do, go onto our patient registry and give us the information about your life. That's how we inform companies about the products that they need to develop so that we can elevate the voice of the patient and how you live your life, what's going on in your life, so that we can make sure that the $75 million that we've raised to date, the $200 million that we want to raise, can be used very carefully and strategically to bring product to market to help solve your problems.
Lisa Gable, CEO of FAIR, I really appreciate you joining me today. Definitely a topic that many moms need to be aware of, like you said, whether or not their child has an allergy. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome back to the show. And I think the biggest thing that's on most people's minds, finances, right? They say finances is the lead cause of couples fighting, and finances. I mean, there's just so much to worry about, from retirement to saving for your child's college fund to you yourself, just making sure you're doing what you need to do on a daily basis and have enough to do that without stressing out. So today I have with me Jean Chatzky. She is the financial editor of NBC's Today Show. She is an award-winning personal finance journalist, a best-selling author, the Alliance for Lifetime Income Education partner, AARP's personal finance ambassador, and host of the podcast Her Money with Jean Chatzky on iTunes. Hi, Jean. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today.
There's so much I want to ask you, but let's get started. Tell me about what you're working on right now.
So today I'm talking about MUG, which is this new educational initiative to get people to really focus in on how much your essential expenses will cost in retirement and where the money to cover those essential expenses will come from. MUG stands for mortgage, utilities, groceries. But, essentials are different for everyone. So yours may include health care or transportation or internet. For some people, they include travel. The goal is to wrap your hands around them, put a number on them, and then figure out, where am I going to get this money? And not only where am I going to get it, but where am I going to get it in a form that will last as long as I do?
Right. And so there are people who are thinking about retirement now. There's people who may not be close to retirement, but they're still thinking, okay, what's the best way to allocate my funds now so that I do have those bases covered when I am older? So how will MUG help retirees plan for the future?
It makes it more granular, and it says, okay, take a look at how much you've got coming from Social Security. We know that on average, Social Security only covers about 40% at best of people's pre-retirement needs. So that's one chunk of change. Do you have a pension? Most people at this point don't. And then, are you doing a good enough job saving for retirement so that when you get there, you'll be able to convert a chunk of your assets into a retirement paycheck using an annuity so that the money will last as long as you do, at least the money to cover your fixed expenses. And then you can leave the rest of the money growing so that you'll keep up with taxes and inflation, because that's a concern as well.
Right, exactly. And what do you say to Americans who believe that they'll be able to get by on just Social Security?
I say wake up. I mean, it's just not possible for the vast majority of people, and people who are trying to get by on just Social Security are really struggling, which is why step one is really making sure that you're saving enough. You can go to protectedincome.org. There are a lot of tools there that'll help you figure out what your MUG is and whether you're on track to make sure that it's covered. But the other thing to focus on, and you and I think have talked about this before, is your savings rate and making sure that you are putting aside enough money on an ongoing basis to cover the things that you're going to need.
Right. So how much, if somebody can do it, how much should they be putting aside for savings a month?
I like to see people putting aside at least 15% of what they're earning. Okay. That can include matching dollars that you get from your employer, but that's a good number to shoot for. And if you can get there and you can be consistent with your savings and your money is working for you, you've got it invested, then you've got a decent shot at having a very comfortable retirement.
Great. And I want to talk to you more about investing in a few minutes. But first, I want to just ask you about the Alliance for Lifetime Income's new survey. What were the results of that?
Importantly, it pointed out that only about a third, even a little bit less than a third of people will have enough money to, or believe that they'll have enough money to cover those essential expenses. And that number is nowhere near high enough for me. I'm sure it's nowhere near where you'd like to hear it be. And that's why it's so important to not only know what you're going to need, but where the money's going to come from.
Right. And you talked about investing. So let's say somebody's in their mid to upper 40s right now, maybe 50s. Where would you suggest that they invest? What should they be thinking about?
Look, in your mid to upper 40s and your mid 50s, which is exactly where I am right now, we've got a lot of time on our hands. We've got to make sure that our money is at work for us, and that means having a decent chunk of our money in equities. And I know that sounds really scary because the markets are on a roller coaster ride. But we have to remember that historically, over the long term, the stock market has gone up, and that it's been our best weapon in staying ahead of taxes and inflation, as well as growing long-term wealth. So the solution when you see volatility in the markets is to think about, what do I need in the short term? What do I need to make next semester's college tuition payment? That money never belonged in the market, and it doesn't belong in the market now. But if you're talking about the money that you need to live on 10, 20, 30 years from now, that's the money that you want to be adding to during situations like this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so tell me a little bit, we talked about college. What are your views on, let's say, a 529 versus putting that money into just a different type of account or more into your retirement?
So retirement has to come first, right? Because there is financial aid for college and there's no financial aid for retirement. So you want to make sure that you as a parent, you're putting on your own retirement oxygen mask. But then I love the idea of a 529 college savings plan. I paid for college for my kids using a 529. In New York, we get a tax deduction for making a contribution to a 529 savings account on our state tax returns. Many other states have a similar benefit as well. And you can put more into a Roth than you can other types of college-specific savings accounts. And if you're not sure whether you should be investing for college or investing for retirement, or if you feel compelled to try to do something for college even though you're not really investing enough for retirement, look at a Roth IRA, because a Roth IRA is nicely flexible in that it allows you to put money in now and decide how to use it, whether you want to use it for college or retirement down the road.
Right, right. Okay, I like that idea. So now you, in addition to being the financial editor of the NBC's Today Show, you have your own podcast called Her Money with Jean Chatzky. Tell me about the podcast and tell me what you cover.
Oh, my goodness. We talk about everything as it relates to women and money. We've got several hundred episodes that you can download if you haven't been a listener of ours before. We do an interview every episode with fabulous people like Brené Brown and Gretchen Rubin and Mika Brzezinski, and we dig into the issues that women care most about when it comes to our money, like our careers and our families and our relationships and investing. We answer listener questions. I just love it. It's one of my favorite things that I do.
That's terrific. And I think it's probably so important for all kinds of women. I mean, whether they're working full time or they're stay-at-home moms, to listen to something like this. What advice do you give to women who maybe decided to be a stay-at-home mom for a few years or maybe permanently? And then let's say she's going through a divorce. Mm-hmm. What advice do you give her to make sure that she is financially independent, or just to prepare if something like this should happen?
You know, I've been divorced. I talk about that a lot on my podcast as well. And it requires you to get really, really honest with the numbers, not only about how you're living today, but how much you're going to truly have to provide for a sustainable lifestyle going forward. I think when you're going through a divorce, you not only need a good lawyer, you really need a good accountant and a good therapist. And and you should be talking to all of them, as well as to your girlfriends who have been through it before you, because they are, I'm sure, full of really wonderful advice. Women don't talk enough about money, which is why we have this ongoing conversation at the Her Money podcast, but also at hermoney.com, where we publish stories every single day for women about money in language that we can all relate to and understand. And, you know, it's a part of life that even if we have stuck our heads in the sand about for a long time, we really should not be avoiding long term. So if you're looking for just a way to dip into the conversation, go to hermoney.com, sign up, and be a part of what we're doing there.
For women who maybe have been out of the workplace for a little while and maybe their funds aren't as strong as they would like them to be, where should they start? I mean, aside from trying to get a job at that point, but where should they start as far as working with their money?
I think they should start with, getting a job is going to be important, but understanding where you are right now. What do you owe? What do you own? What do you owe? Level set, so that you can begin to make a plan to move yourself forward.
Great. I love it. And what's some other tips that you have just in general that you offer women if they come to you for the first time and say, I have so much, I just don't know anything about my finances or what I should be doing. And I think it could feel overwhelming to some people who maybe aren't that knowledgeable about the market. They don't know where to invest. They know they should be, but they just don't know where to get started.
No doubt. So I would say a couple of things. First of all, it's eye-opening to track your spending. If you've never done it, track your spending for a solid month. And that'll give you a road, and you can do it with an app, but I would almost encourage you not to do it with an app. Just write down where your money's going. What you're going to start to see are things that surprise you. And when you have that information, it gives you the ability to make choices about where you want your money to go. And then you can start to decide you want to save a little more of it. You want to invest a little more of it. You want to use a little more of it, perhaps to get yourself a course that will enable you to go back to school. There are lots of different paths that you can take, but the more information you can give yourself, the better off you'll be to make those decisions thoughtfully and with preparation.
Great. I love it. Thank you so much, Jean. So tell me again, the reason why we had you on today was because of the MUG initiative. Where can people go just to get more information on that and to help plan for their retirement?
Go to protectedincome.org, and that'll give you the information that you need to get going.
Terrific. Jean Chatzky, the financial editor of NBC's Today Show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Such an important topic to cover, really, when it comes to finances, because I feel like many women, like she said, just aren't as knowledgeable because maybe it's just not an interest we've ever had when it comes to how to invest, what to invest in. Some women are absolutely phenomenal at it. And if you have a friend who is, always nice to pick her brain. But if you don't, you shouldn't be intimidated because it's never too late, no matter how old you are. And as you heard her say, she does have a podcast called Her Money, and I would suggest checking it out. I'm going to check it out because we can all use tips, no matter how knowledgeable we are when it comes to finances. Coming up next, we are going to talk about your skin because a survey reveals that over half of Americans, get this, have skipped work or left an event early because of a bad skin day. Really? I mean, but they do say that it does, your whole persona and how you think about yourself really does affect your daily activities. And a survey came out that talked about things that you go through in high school, and the perception of how you look in high school can affect you for years down the line. And isn't that true, right? We still go back to our high school days and we still put ourselves in those shoes that we were in high school, even if it's 30 years later. So coming up, we are going to talk with Diana Morrison. She is the Senior Manager of Service Development and Innovation at Massage Envy, because they have a new program that they're offering clients to really help you feel better about your skin. And don't forget, you can head to my website anytime. It's passportmommy.com. There you'll find all of the podcast episodes if you'd like to go back and listen to any particular interview that we've done, whether it's a travel interview or something about finances like you just heard, or mompreneurs I love having on the show. We offer so many great ideas for products for your new baby and just things to do all around, because motherhood is a journey. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. We have more coming up in just a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
We were talking about how our skin really affects how we feel about ourselves on a daily basis. And I have with me Diana Morrison. She is the Senior Manager of Service Development and Innovation at Massage Envy. Diana, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
I want you to tell me about this study, because as moms, we have so much to worry about on a daily basis, but I think we kind of put ourselves last, and we don't always think about the things that might bother us the most that could really just be fixed with a little bit of time if we have some me time. So tell me about a national study that you've done with Massage Envy.
So Massage Envy commissioned a study of 2,000 Americans to understand what makes them feel self-conscious about their appearance and their skincare routines. What we understand is that a bad skin day can have real-life consequences and affect your confidence in yourself and how you present yourself to the world. So we're looking to understand that, 60% of Americans don't feel comfortable in their skin. And something that was really significant is 81% of people who experience skin problems in their youth admitted that it still plagues their confidence today. So something that Massage Envy is really focused on is providing solutions to help people get back their confidence.
I was saying before, it really is a shame that it could be 30 years later and we still think of ourselves as that little girl or guy in high school. And how much the peer pressure and the things just affected us. And if somebody made fun of us because maybe our skin wasn't perfect in high school, how it still affects us so many years later.
It really can. We learned through the survey that over half Americans have left work early or skipped a day altogether because of a bad skin day. And so it's something that, it really needs to be addressed so that people understand that, first of all, they're not alone. There are a lot of people who are dealing with this. Acne is the number one skin concern in America. 50 million Americans deal with acne. And something that we're really proud to offer at Massage Envy is the Acne Facial Series powered by Proactiv, which is a 6-week guided facial series that pairs a customer with an esthetician so that we can coach you and help you not feel alone, not feel lost, but feel empowered to know that you can take care of your skin and that we're there to help you get the great results you're looking for.
Tell me a little bit more about this Acne Facial Series. What makes it so effective?
So we're really excited about the Acne Facial Series powered by Proactiv because it is a 6 facial treatment. And this is really intentional. When we initially were testing this service offering, we learned that 97% of users saw a reduction in acne blemishes after the 6 facial series. It's something that's easy and it's really fantastic because if you come in once a week or once every other week, you're meeting with your esthetician regularly where we're able to check in and adjust your skincare program, whether it's how we customize the facial or help you get the best results possible off of the products that you're using at home in a really simple and effective way that makes sure that you're not working too hard or wasting money or wasting time, but you're really achieving the results that you're looking for in 6 weeks.
That's terrific because, it's really easy to just order the products online. But if you don't know exactly how you should be, what you should be doing and how you should be managing them, it's really great to have you. And not to mention that you have an excuse to go in for a facial once a week or once every other week and really have some me time. So how can it be customized for everybody's skin's needs?
With the Acne Facial Series, and as we're really addressing acne and how it's going to change as we start to really put topical products on there that are going to change the skin, it's all about customizing each individual service based off of what your skin needs on that day. So if we see you every week, we're going to start with a really thorough consultation to understand where is our starting point, what products are you using at home, what have you tried already, and then start you off with a facial that's really going to jumpstart that skincare routine. Using products at home, part of the Acne Facial Series is the 3-step Proactiv Plus system that you use at home. And so we're coaching you on how to use those products. And then each time that you come in, we can customize the masks and treatments that are offered in the facial to offer what your skin needs and then also help you navigate how to most effectively use the products at home so that you continue to see the really great results. So we can transition to maintenance at the end of it all and really see you maybe on a monthly basis instead to help you maintain healthy skin.
Diana Morrison, where can people go for more information on Massage Envy and to find a location near them?
Join us at massageenvy.com. You can find one of our 1,100 locations across the country that's close to you. We also have a skincare quiz at massageenvy.com where you can take the quiz and learn where your skin concerns fall on the spectrum and help to understand what services we offer that can be right for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Diana Morrison. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Enjoy the rest of your day.